Welcome to the ImageMaker Presents, owned and operated by award-winning Dr. Joyce Knudsen, Research Director for the ImageMaker Incorporated. The purpose of this show is to inspire and educate through having on specialists and thought leaders so our viewers can think about what they can do to contribute to society and make this world a better place. Oliver Wendell once said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." If you want to be on the show and have something within you that listeners can identify with, please email imagemaker@bellsouth.net. Our guest today is Robyn Stevens, founder of PR Media. She changed her career after 15 years of working as a television reporter and meteorologist in Philadelphia before going on her own to a PR business. I'm sure many listening would love to hear what she has to say and how she did this. I know I do. Welcome to the show, Robyn.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Joyce.
It's a pleasure. I read that you were a TV meteorologist for years, 15, working in front of the camera, and now you're a publicist. What made you switch careers, and why did you choose the publicist route?
I think I had one of those aha moments in life where you kind of realize that maybe you need to reinvent your career. I loved my other career. It was great being a meteorologist. I went back and got a Bachelor of Science degree in meteorology. I originally started in journalism. And I've always found working in TV and TV news quite fascinating. But at that point, I had worked for many years in Philadelphia. I really didn't want to travel to another city, and that's where the job offers were being made at TV markets in other cities. And I just felt it was time to maybe get other people in front of the camera, to media train them, and to get them out there. The industry's changing. They're looking for people that have high social media followings, and that's something when I got started there really wasn't even Twitter and Facebook. Now they're looking for people that are contributors that have high social media followings and basically are influencers, not just journalists. So I felt that since the industry was changing, I was changing a little bit. It was the perfect moment. And the reason I went to PR is I have a lot of contacts in the television industry as well as major blogs, radio stations, of course, print outlets and magazines. So the contacts were there. I felt like I've learned from various news directors along the way some tips on being in front of the camera or giving an interview. So it kind of just went hand in hand and came naturally. But it was one of those moments that you kind of have to reinvent yourself. And I wasn't certain just like anybody else at first. I kept thinking that my whole career I've been on TV while I enjoy it. And a week went by, and 2 weeks went by, and another 3 weeks, and I've loved every minute of being a publicist. So I'm grateful that both careers have worked out very well.
I think a lot of people need to reinvent themselves, and I think the way you went about it is really great to have had the experience and then sharing it to others as a publicist. So I think that is really great. Since you have switched your career, what advice do you have for others thinking about switching their career?
One thing I would have is say not to do it too quickly. And I know a lot of people, even yourself, Dr. Joyce, because I follow you on Twitter, how often say, take baby steps. I think people all of a sudden they switch their career, buy a new house, do everything all at once. Reinventing yourself doesn't mean big transformations. It can just mean taking those baby steps. So I, didn't re-sign a contract. I got out of TV, started PR, just took a few clients at first just in case I wasn't happy. And, kind of toe-dipped for a little while, made sure I really liked doing PR, and I could do it and felt confident doing it, and started taking meetings with magazine editors in New York or with other TV producers and writing pitches. So I didn't do it all at once, and I think that made it easier for me because I didn't feel like as much pressure. I felt like, okay, I'm just trying this out for a few months. I'm not married to it. It's, the pressure wasn't on me as much, and I think that is when you kind of can enjoy changing your life and reinventing if you do it in baby steps. I think if you do it all at once, you sometimes feel a lot of pressure, and if you're not instantly happy in your new job, then you feel you failed rather than waiting for it to kind of grow on you a little bit. And, I remember my first couple months, I started getting people on TV and getting them in magazines, and the feeling, I'm like, okay, this is working out. I'm feeling pretty good. But it doesn't happen the first day you start a new career or the first day you start anything new in your life.
I think people get excited. I know my clients get real excited about getting to be an image consultant, and all of a sudden they've got a website up, they've got all this stuff up, and they didn't even think about what they were doing because they didn't take baby steps. So I think it's really great to let people know to slow down. It'll happen quicker if you don't rush into it. You need to get a lot of research, and you need to get a lot of information. And so that is really perfect advice to take baby steps. Since you have TV experience, can you give our listeners some tips should they want to appear on TV to promote their business, book, or other subject?
Your tip I would have is the television stations now really rely on you to do their marketing as well. They want you to promote them. So in advance of, I would say the day before, start tweeting or putting on social media, Facebook, so excited I'm going to appear on WCCO or whatever the TV station is. Looking forward to it. Be sure to tune in. I'm going to be coming on and giving 5 great recipes for the holidays, whatever your area of expertise is. But promote. When you're in the green room, take a couple photos and get to know the other people in the green room. Cross-promote them. If you're sitting in the green room and there's a veterinarian or a life coach, promote their appearance as well. Everybody wins if we all help each other out. When you're on TV, try to breathe, and that sounds a little silly, but people, I think, sometimes are so caught up in their answer that they forget to just kind of relax and breathe, and they don't look relaxed because they're kind of look like their breath is all caught in their throat. If at all possible, try to call the host by name. If you met somebody and you were having a conversation and you were, again, a nutritionist and you're giving a few tips on eating healthy and they're a friend of yours, you would say, hey, Dr. Joyce, here's a couple tips. So when you're on TV, try to call the host by name. It makes you look confident. And even when you say it out loud and you say the host name, it makes you feel confident. Everybody's now they're my friend. We're on equal level. I said, hey, Kathy, here's 4 things you can do. And I think definitely keeping your speaking points kind of short. Don't rely that necessarily the host is going to get to everything you want to say. So if you know there's a few things you need to say, try to say it early on because the time will go by very, very quickly.
So many times they ask questions or give you a list of questions that they're going to ask, and then they don't ask those questions. So you really do need to be very calm and collective when you're on those television shows. I found out just now from you that to call the person by their name. I did not do that. So that's great advice for the green room and for your interviews, and I'm sure that our listeners appreciate that. What about speaking to large audiences? I know this is a number one fear of many people. Anything you can tell the listeners that will lessen this fear?
Well, a couple of things, and one thing that also ties back to even doing an interview on TV. Really listen. I think sometimes people, as you said, it will happen. They'll ask you a question, and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. That wasn't in the list of questions they said they were going to ask. But I think if you really listen, you can come up with some sort of answer, even if it's just a funny answer or a very honest and saying, you know what, I really don't know, but, I'll look into that. So I think listening is important. I think when you go in front of an audience, try to really do some research ahead of time. Who are you speaking to? What's their average age? What's a little bit about it so you can make it relatable to them? People feel comfortable if you know a little bit about them. So it's not just that they should know about you. Obviously, they're going to have a program in their hand telling about you. But if you can, whether you're speaking in Indianapolis, mention something. Hey, I just got to Indianapolis today. Went over to this new bakery, loved the apple pie they have. So that you look like you want to know them and their town or what they're about, not that just that they should get to know you. And on a speaking level, it's got to be on a broad scale. Obviously, you can't get to know everybody in the audience, but on a broad scale that you know a little bit about them. And I think trying your best not to stand behind the podium, that's kind of a wall between you and the audience, trying to work the audience. I would say if your book is speaking engagement, really encourage to see if you can do Q&A afterwards. I think people enjoy it. And I think most of the people I know, they like the question and answer period afterwards. If that's not possible, maybe then in your speech say, here's 5 questions I thought you might want to ask me. I got to know you. I did my research, and, I thought this might be of interest, so that it's still more of a give-and-take interview if you can't do Q&A. And the other thing is, one thing I will always say, too, and I tell this for people on TV, and even a friend of mine who just made a toast at a wedding. They were a bridesmaid, so they made the maid of honor. Always know your outro. people know how to get in. Okay, well, I'm going to start my speech or I'm going to go on this talk show, and they know they're beginning. They don't know how to wrap it up. And they're on stage and they're, if someone's giving them, okay, 15 minutes, your speech is over. And they don't know how to stop. They don't know how to wind themselves down and wrap it up. Know how you will end. Know your outro so that you end on a high note.
That is great advice, and it makes perfect sense. As for people trying to get publicity for themselves or their product, what are the steps and what needs to be considered in this quest?
I think publicity is you have to, come up with a little bit of a niche. I hate to say the word gimmick, but a little bit. People love magazines and AOL and MSN, and so many people are looking for content. Content's king now, so they're looking for digital. They're looking for content. Lists have always done well. 5 easy things to pack for lunch that's nutritious for your kids. 5 steps you should take before you enter into a serious relationship. People like lists. They like it relatable, so tie it in with some of the news trends. Not that people should necessarily get political by any means, but if the news trends are leaning towards healthy eating or there's studies going on, more people are getting a divorce and you want to talk about self-esteem after, getting divorced, tie it into things that are trending. Media outlets more and more are following Twitter. TV stations now get ratings from Twitter. So really see what's trending on Twitter and tie your content into that as organically as possible. You still want to be true to your message and who you are, but tying it into that. Now if you're a nutritionist, we're coming up on more people are eating bigger meals or, it's the winter. So tie it into the time of the year. So you want to always stay current with your messages. So as I think pitching yourself, you really want to be one step ahead. You really want to keep it very, very current to what you're talking about.
Well, there's definitely a lot of competition, so you do have to keep one step ahead. I've found that over the years to be why I'm where I'm at, because I definitely keep one step ahead of the competition, and I think that's the way that you have to do it. Not because you want to be first, but because you need to be first so in order to get the knowledge-based interviews, and that's, I think, what the TV wants. Is that right?
Absolutely. They want to see that you've done your research, you're on it, you know what's going on. You're part of the conversation. It's important, but it's also about creating the conversation. So it's not just the water cooler and walking up and being part of the conversation, but now they want to see that you're the thought leader and you're creating the next level of dialogue. You're creating the conversation as well.
Definitely. I think thought leaders, the people that actually research, which is what I do all the time, because things change like so fast, so much faster than they used to change in the past, because I've been around a while and I've seen all the changes, and you do have to keep up with the times. And if you're going to go on television, you're not in the group that they're usually interviewing, what you have to do is just shock them and tell them what they have to do in order to be the person that they want to contact again. Don't you think?
Yes. There's got to be something, as one news director once said, you got to be compelling. Because everybody at the end of the day kind of has the same, no one's really out of the box. Again, going back to a nutritionist or a fitness trainer, no one's reinventing how you get strong arms. There's not, so you kind of have to, something about you has to be engaging and something about you has to be compelling. It has to go beyond just your tips on how to save money for the holidays or how to eat less calories. There's something about you that has to be, and I think some people just really have that spirit in them, but sometimes they're afraid to let it out on TV or even in Twitter, but their sense of humor goes far. Sense of humor is great. Definitely. It makes people relax. It shows confidence. So don't be afraid. And I think being humble. I think if you think about the people that have been successful, whether it's Steve Harvey or Oprah Winfrey, they're very humble. They're not afraid to go on TV as well and say, I made that mistake. And, I sometimes like to eat brownies too. I try to eat healthy, but once in a while I sneak a brownie. They admit their faults, so they're not just giving tips, but along the way they're saying, I stumble at these things as well, but here's what I do to get over those hurdles.
That's certainly very important. To me, a sense of humor just gets me through so many things. And I laugh a lot because of my sense of humor. And I'm always humbled by where I'm at and how far I've come and how far other people have come. And I always try to let them know on Twitter or other social sites how much I admire them for being humble, because you can't be afraid, and we have to admit our faults. And I do think that those are things that probably other people wouldn't bring up. So thank you for bringing that up. It seems obvious to me that both television and publicity is changing. Am I wrong?
Oh, it's changing dramatically. And I think it's just partly because of devices. Now that we have our iPhone in our hand, and, it's now up to almost 60% of all content viewed is viewed on a device. So it's not the hard copy magazine or watching it literally on TV. It's on a device. I think instant is becoming important, getting it out there quickly, which also has a downside as well. Because sometimes, as we know, sometimes less fact-checking goes on because people want to get that content out there. I still think fact-checking is extremely important, but it has changed. I think it's smaller bites. I think before it was long articles and, long TV segments. But again, going back to people are watching these TV segments or reading these articles on their iPhone, whether on the train or sitting in the office, or wherever the case may be, or even at home. I've done it myself where I'm in front of the TV, but I'm still looking at my iPhone. They went smaller. So maybe it's just 4 tips on how to do it, or a 3-minute video, and video is doing very well. Video, Facebook Live, I always encourage people to do Facebook Live. The more you do it, the better you are, and it helps you for appearing on TV or doing public speaking, but it's those little short, maybe just today, 2 tips on how to be happy. It doesn't have to be the 10 tips anymore, or 2 tips on how to save money for the holidays. Do it on Facebook Live. Put that video out through Twitter and social media. And I think then, as the media outlets see, this person's always cranking out information. They're always part of it. They like to see that there's always new stuff that you're generating as well. But that's what I think has changed, is the devices and the fact that everything's going very short and people want it at their convenience. They want those tips, if they want to see how makeup tips, if they want to look at it at 3 o'clock in the morning, that video's there for how to get makeup tips at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Definitely, there's been a dramatic change as far as with all the devices. It's a daily challenge to learn what's going on that day, because what happened yesterday isn't important anymore. So it just seems so obvious to me that they're changing. So I'm glad that I was able to bring that up. Like me, you are self-employed. What do you think about the pros and cons of working on your own?
Pros and cons. I think there's a lot of advantages. I would probably say the disadvantage, we go with negative first and the positive. The disadvantage is the pressure's on you. I think when you're not self-employed, you're more likely to know every month I will at least get X amount of money from my employer. My medical benefits are covered by my employer. I think self-employed, there's more pressure on you. I even think vacation, I know I'm self-employed, and people are like, oh, you can take vacation whenever you want.
Oh, sure.
No,
no.
You can't. It doesn't work like that. I actually, Dr. Joyce, to be quite honest, took more vacation when I was employed by TV stations, because if you didn't, you take it, you would lose it at the end of the year. The news director would often encourage you, it's time to take your vacation, better get it in, better submit it on time. Now there's so much, you think, oh gosh, if I even take vacation, I'm going to come back to a ton of emails. And again, you're self-employed, so can you really be off for that long period of time? So I think it's quite the opposite being self-employed. I think you're even more reluctant to take vacations, or to just do a few days rather than a week. I think the advantage is, though, I think you can be more creative. I think you can, kind of make your own decisions and guide yourself. I do think there's flexibility in the sense of that day you maybe want to work from home and have slippers on as opposed to heels. Well, you can have your slippers on. I think, or if that day you think, well, I really need to go to the doctor's appointment or attend something, you rearrange your schedule, and maybe some of those things that you were going to do, whether it's writing press releases or what have you, you'll do in the evening because you had an appointment. So I think the flexibility and the creativity are wonderful. I think the only negative is, like I said, I really think you actually have a little less vacation time and a little more pressure. And I think it's not suited for everybody. I know some people who absolutely would probably, it would freak them out. They wouldn't like having all this freedom and everything. I think you have to be able to structure your time. as well.
I think time as well as discipline. I know a lot of people couldn't work out of their homes or work without working for an employer because they just don't know how to present themselves, or they don't have the flexibility or the passion to do something on their own. That's what I have found to be true. Would you agree?
Yes, I do. I think the passion, I think to be self-employed takes more passion than ever. I really do. I think it's got to be a lot of passion, and you just have to enjoy it.
Yes,
as opposed to maybe going to an employer where all of us, have been there where, you muddle through, so to speak. But I'm getting paid, I get these benefits, this and that. But self-employed, it's really about the passion.
I agree. I work with Robyn, and I highly recommend her for her extensive knowledge of public relations. I'm sure our viewers want to know how to contact you, Robyn. Please tell them the best way to get in touch with you.
Sure, they can email me at PR, like public relations, PRmedia, MEDIA, at live.com, or they can also check me out on LinkedIn. I have a Twitter at Robyn Stevens PR, and Robyn's with a Y and Stevens with a V, or they can reach me. Basically, those are the best ways, or they can call me 856-298-9820, whatever works best for them.
Well, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, and especially today with all this information that you've given that people can use. Thank you so much for being our guest today on The Image Maker Presents.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy talking with you, Dr. Joyce, and thank you so much for this great opportunity. I really enjoyed it.
It's my pleasure, Robyn. Thank you.
Enjoy the day.